We claim that we are on the wrong foot when we assume that modern humans are out of Africans that acquired Neanderthal DNA through interbreeding with Neanderthals. Simply because A. Western European modern humans descended from, and migrated from their respective cradles in the Americas, and not at all from Africa. All the most relevant ancestral markers clearly prove all modern humans descend from the Americas, and B. When they arrived at their destinations, they already had the famous 2% or more of supposed Neanderthal DNA in their DNA. Their relative Native Americans that stayed behind also have the famous 2% or more of supposed Neanderthal DNA in their DNA. In other words, there was no need to acquire Neanderthal DNA by means of interbreeding on arrival. Still, in other words, the enigmatic and much touted but improbable interbreeding of future modern humans with Neanderthals never took place, on any significant scale, or not at all. Next, we will provide clear evidence that the assumption that Western European modern humans are the result of out-of-Africans interbreeding with Neanderthals is a wrong assumption, this still in the course of this video. We claim that this systematically wrong assumption distracts us, and costs us our full and practical understanding of our history and genetics. While the assumption that our supposed Neanderthal DNA is acquired by interbreeding is very understandable, right now, and almost ironically, by means of the results of ancient DNA research of David Reich and others, it is proven that this assumption is improbable and paradigmatic at best, and that those that live in Western Eurasia today have no sub-Saharan African DNA and certainly no Western Eurasian Neanderthal DNA. Right here, we will argue and prove what we genetically really are, for the most part, at least somewhere between 60 to 100%, and what this supposed 2% or a bit more of supposed Neanderthal DNA really is. We will do so in 2 steps, and in both steps ancient DNA was decisive. Because of the first step, even assuming that the group that overturned indeed and exclusively were out of Africans that somehow managed to interbreed with Neanderthals, between 60 to 100% of modern humans is not a mixture of out of Africans that somehow managed to interbreed with Neanderthals. The second step is much more convincing and a much more radical proof. And you could pull over to that particular chapter right now if you prefer. Because of the second step, we know for sure that Western Eurasian modern humans have no out of Africa, nor Neanderthal DNA on board. In a hopefully kind of intuitive intermezzo. If you analyze the morphology Western Eurasian modern humans, you will notice that they are the farthest away from both sub-Saharan Africans and Neanderthals. In fact, Western Eurasian modern humans resemble Asians, Oceanians, and perhaps most of all Native Americans more than they resemble sub-Saharan Africans and Neanderthals or Denisovans for that matter. But we will not use this weak intuitive argument at all. What we will use is purely and strongly based on genetics and DNA, modern as well as ancient DNA. Ancient DNA proves that actual Western Eurasian modern humans arrived or appeared in Western Eurasia roughly after the Younger Dryas, or rather between 8,000 and 4,500 years ago. In other words, A. The genetics of the Western Eurasian modern humans were not present in Western Eurasia before 8,000 to 4,500 years ago. B. The humans that lived in Western Eurasia before 4,500 to 8,000 years ago are not alive anymore today, consequently are not or cannot be called Western Eurasian modern humans, and at best some DNA of them is absorbed by those that killed, eliminated, and or absorbed them before 4,500 to 8,000 years ago. To be clear, those that killed, eliminated, and or absorbed them before 4,500 to 8,000 years ago are the Western Eurasian modern humans living in Western Eurasia today, plus those that migrated all over the world, including the USA for instance. As a consequence, all out of Africans that migrated directly or indirectly to Western Eurasia, during the supposed out of Africa that happened 50,000 or more years ago, in the period the Neanderthals were still not extinct, and even those out of Africans that migrated before 4,500 to 8,000 years ago, and had no chance to meet or interbreed with Neanderthals, are not alive anymore. Further, no intact DNA of out of Africans nor Western Eurasian Neanderthals is detectable. Further, Western Eurasian modern humans bear no DNA that can be proven to be from sub-Saharan Africans or Neanderthals. Resuming, Western Eurasian modern humans are not out of Africans, independently if Africans interbred somewhere with Neanderthals or not at all, and independently if that interbreeding was substantial or not. All indicates that interbreeding between sub-Saharan Africans and Neanderthals was not substantial. What really did happen, or the second and most radical step? Until 8,000 years ago, 4 distinct groups arrived in Western Eurasia. That was 2 groups of gatherers more to the north, and 2 groups of farmers more to the south, of Western Eurasia. After 8,000 years ago, these 4 groups mixed and turned into 1 group of gatherers and 1 group of farmers. Next, 4,000 years ago, also Europe's third ancestry arrived. When this third ancestry arrives, it has the supposed Neanderthal DNA already on board. The supposed Neanderthal DNA does not come from some mixing of the arriving Europe's third ancestry in Western Eurasia, simply because the newly arriving group never was present in Western Eurasia, and when they arrived the Neanderthals already had become extinct. This third ancestry arrived with much more, 600,000 genome positions, and clear Native American DNA on board. This is proven by a massive, thousands of participants research of David Reich back in 2013 and 2015, involving the so-called 3 population test.